Hi everybody, this is Trish from Art Journal Junkie. Each time I open my art journal, I'm faced with this blue page, which was just from cleaning off brushes and cards or something from a previous project. So I grabbed a selection of blue paints and, using my fingers, I applied them, adding a little bit of white here and there to soften the background somewhat. Once the paint was thoroughly dry, I applied a layer of matte gel medium and allowed that to dry as well. I decided to border the page, and just using my steel ruler and a graphite pencil, I drew the lines using the width of the ruler as the guide for my border. The reason I applied the matte medium and let it dry before using the masking tape is because it will stop the masking tape from actually sticking to the acrylic paint. And you can see here that I'm actually picking up some fluff and debris from my craft mat. Another way is to actually hit the masking tape against your clothing as well to pick up some fluff. That removes a lot of the stickiness of the masking tape, yet allows enough stickiness that the paint won't seep underneath the masking tape when you start painting the border. By the time I was ready to paint the border, I knew exactly what I was going to use my background for. It reminded me of a tablecloth I had made years and years ago when fabric painting was all the fashion. And so I decided I would replicate that in my journal to remind me of the wonderful days of fabric painting with a very dear friend of mine when we lived in Egypt. Now you can see how easy the masking tape pulls off. And a word of caution, pull masking tape towards the color that you have just painted, because if you pull it the other way, you might encourage any runs that might be there if the paint isn't completely dry. And what is a piece of art in my art journal if there's no writing? So I took out my white Posca pen and started writing around the inside of the border, first outlining it fairly loosely and not worrying about the blips and blips that happened with the pen not being exactly on the edge of the blue. So a major camera fail happened. As I was making the little fish in the same fashion as I had made these butterflies, of course I hadn't pressed the record button, so I'm terribly sorry about that. But there's a little eye up at the top right hand side of the screen that'll show you how to make the butterflies, or rather how I made the butterflies. And I do have a piece of the paper left behind that I had prepared to make the fish with. So here I'm just showing you how I very loosely drew out the fish, and then of course I cut them out for application into my art journal. And because they were made with Tombow markers, and if I added any sort of liquid now, the paints would react, or the inks would again react, I took out a spray varnish. You can buy it at the local hardware store. Just a fast-drying spray paint, a clear varnish, and I took it outside and sprayed all my little fish before cutting them out. So here I'll show you a piece that is already varnished, and if you put water onto it or any other liquid, you'll see that the inks no longer react. I needed it this way because I was going to glue the fish in, and whoopah, there they are. They're all glued in, and as you can see, all the writing is done as well. So I'm just choosing what pens I'm going to use. Obviously, paint pens are the best, and I love the Poscas. I also am using the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pens, and they're also alcohol-based pigments. Very, very nice pens. I'm going to use them to shade around the edge of each of the fish. And just for good measure, we tip a black one in too, because I remembered some of my fish don't have eyes. And what would a girl do without her white jelly roll? So I'm just doing a few little squiggly things around, just to get the background to sort of mush into the background where it should be. And then I will take out my Faber-Castell pen, as you'll see in a moment, and use it to just outline each fish, which helps to give a little bit of dimension and get the fish to pop up off the page. So there we are. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, fish by Trisch, NaCl H2O fish, which is saltwater fish. And in South Africa, we say tuna fish, how's it? How's it is the way we say hello. And old fish, new fish, back to one fish and two fish. So I hope you've enjoyed this journal spread. Please consider subscribing to my channel and giving me a thumbs up. And come on over and join me at Facebook at Art Journal Junkie. Take care, have a good day, and bye for now.